This is Chelsea Schaefer, and this is Season 4 of The Score. You all have listened to this podcast 750,000 times, and we are here in Season 4 to bring you even more of what you love. Today's episode is brought to you by ManaPro. I'll tell you more about them at the episode break. Right now, with the rodeo season once again up in the air thanks to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, it feels like as good of a time as any to have a lighthearted episode about the good old days on the rodeo trail in what feels like a very different era. So to do that, I racked my brain for the best cowboy travel stories I've ever heard told, and I called up the guys who live to tell the tales so we could all have a good laugh at their expense. I started with Travis Tryan because I vividly remember this photo finish story happening in real time.
Hello?
Hey Travis, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing. What are you up to?
Just working.
Nice.
Just plugging away on all kinds of different projects at the moment. But one thing, so the other day, your cousin texted me, and he said that I should do a series for my podcast on craziest, like, rodeo road trips and, like, travel stories. And I was like, oh, yeah, like the Cheyenne story. And he was like, oh, that wasn't me. And I remembered it was you and Brady, wasn't it?
Yeah. Me, Brady, Michael Jones, and Tommy Zuniga.
Will you tell me that story?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're in Salt Lake, or Ogden that morning. And we got to run, it was only Team Ruggles flag. We got to run them both. We're going to make it in time. And then we had a charter. And the pilot for the charter finds out we're supposed to leave, and we're leaving on time. Well, they got an air show in Cheyenne.
Mm-hmm.
So he could land in Cheyenne, but he would have to wait 2 hours to leave. So the pilot, being a very nice individual, he decided that he's going to land us in Laramie, Wyoming. So without any of us really, he just wouldn't do it. And then he's like, and then we're supposed to have a car waiting for us when we get there, because we had someone that was going to come pick us up. And he's like, no, we'll have a car waiting right there, right at the airport. Well, when we get there, there's no car. We have to go into, we possibly are going to have to go into, go rent it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, Laramie Airport is not really near town. So we're like, I don't know when we landed. I think we landed maybe a half an hour, maybe just a little bit before the rodeo even started in Laramie. So now we have no car. But then we walk in there, and there's a courtesy car for the pilots there.
Yeah.
The airport deal. Hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble. But another pilot's sitting there, and we're like, man, we're trying to figure out a car. And we know that, because we know they team rope about, I think it's about maybe hour into it, maybe. Yeah,
like hour and 15 into it, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. So I want to say, we landed right when the rodeo was starting. Like, we landed and we got off the plane, because it's 50 miles, but we got no car, so I think we landed right when the rodeo started. Mm-hmm. Well, so the guy he throws us this keys to this, the pilot throws this keys to this courtesy deal with whatever the airport's name was that's on the side of the van. Well, so me being the one with kids and everything, and I guess I got nominated. I said, well, I'll drive. So I drove. Well, we're cruising along there pretty good. Stupid. Going faster than we should have done for sure. Mm-hmm. And then, we keep getting updates. Well, we get behind traffic. Well, someone finds this yellow light that's in there, that goes on the top that you can put on the top and it flashes around. So, so we get in. So when we get in there, and there's two cars on the interstate. Of course, when you're in a hurry, no one's in one lane. There's just two cars kind of driving. So we just put the light on top of the deal, and they started pulling over and stuff. And then we hit construction. So that really slowed us down. But it's a good thing that there was a couple cars in front of that, because there was a cop sitting there riding construction, and I was going to be going way too fast. And at this point, we really don't know. I don't really know if we're going to get called in for stealing this car or what. Because, I mean, they threw us the keys, so it wasn't stealing. But, I mean, we didn't really know it was just the courtesy car, so we're headed out. But anyway, so we made it through the construction. Like I said, drove faster than we should have. Had our light on the whole time, just to make sure that no one got in our way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to go in and check in at the office, because we don't have our numbers yet, because we're in the first. And no one can do that for you but yourselves. They had it all ready, had it signed. We loped around the track. Our horses were saddled, and we got there. I think there was they were loading team members. There's 3 bulldoggers left.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking this is going to be a great story, I draw a steer. As soon as he hits the line, you're like, oh man, Cheyenne, it's going to be awesome. We're going to win the round. We're going to do something. This is how stories go. No, they don't. My steer come out. I drew the worst steer in there. He hits the line, runs right down the left fence. Awesome. Well, that could have went better. And I think Brady and Tommy, they did have a good one. Brady turned a good one. I think Tommy ended up broken leg or something. And so none of us won anything. And then we had to figure out how we were going to get the car back, and they were a little pissed about it. But we ended up paying them some money, and they were good. So we did. Well, so that's kind of I don't know what we had to end up paying them, but I nominated Tommy to bring the car back, because I said, man, I drove, and I, could have went to jail, so I didn't really want to do that. So Tommy had to bring the car back. So that was our deal. But it seemed like it happened to us all year. We got stuck in construction, and we were showing up. Yeah. Not even late. We were early. I mean, we were supposed to be way early, but then it just happened to us a lot. That was like the end of it. We're just like, my gosh, this has got to stop.
Yeah. Was that the stupidest thing that happened, though, of all the travel stories?
Yeah. I mean, that's the one right there where you planned it good, you got it, you spent the money, and sure enough, the pilot just dinked you. Mm-hmm. And then the pilot was kind of acting like he didn't really care when he landed it, and we're like, I don't think you really understand here, sir. Yeah. We're gonna not get to compete, and that's how we make our living. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean, I've had a couple close finishes, but nothing like it was. I don't know, man. I got to get like Mike Jones in or something. He might remember some of the stuff. I don't know. I didn't have. Other than the time when I'm going to Canada, and we're thinking me and Clay, but one of us gets stopped at the border. Not me or Clay, but one of our partners got stopped at the border. And then we get up there, and we miss it. The team roped second at Ennisville, and we drove all the way to Ennisville, Canada, and they team roped second. We showed up third event because we got stopped at the border and interrogated at the border.
Oh,
that was awesome. That was fun times.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's awful.
That's awful. But, I mean, that's not really exciting. It's just, I don't know. That would have been the Cheyenne one was probably the longest that it took.
Yeah.
And kind of and we made it, but like I said, and then you're thinking, everything's going to go good. Nope. It's not. Nope. And you're like, why did I do that? I could have just eased on over and not had to go through all that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
No, I'm trying to think of something else. I don't really have.
No, that Cheyenne one's a winner. I guess because I just remember I was standing by the head box taking pictures, and I remember pinning your back numbers on as you were getting on your horses to ride into the box. It was.
Yeah,
when
they were there was 3 bulldog. I remember it because they were loading our steers. They were already loaded, and they had the bulldog, and they probably loaded 7 or 8 in there at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was 3 bulldogging steers left when they team roped next. And our warm-up was I just lope around, cinched up, loped around the track, hauled up the track, and then you're warmed up. You're ready to go. It's a long ways. But yeah.
Yep. I remember.
But I do have some. We did some fun stuff with the light later on, but we probably don't want to do that because I don't. So we did have some fun with the vehicle later on, just for the rest of the day. But
I moved to Trey Yates after Travis Tryan because I also remember a story or two of his. Now, he hasn't been rodeoing nearly as long as the rest of our guests, but he's fresh in the middle of some wild young times. This story's pretty short, but it was worth including. I got an idea for a podcast the other day. Somebody said I should do it on craziest, travel stories. And, I vaguely remember you being stuck on, a 1-lane road outside of, Westcliff or something. Or Cripple Creek.
Yes.
What was that story? Tell me that story.
Oh, it was, me and Mark Morrison, when we were headed to Cripple Creek, and I took a detour. I went the wrong way. And we ended up on the scenic route. It's barely big enough for a car, and we had a truck and trailer.
Yeah, our circuit can cause those problems sometimes, I think. Have you had any other crazy travel experiences in your rodeo life? Your very short rodeo life now, Trey?
Probably just that when we were trying to make it from Burley to Payson, and I was driving Junior D's semi and smoked the brakes out 3 times on it, and then he about ran over 5 cars and killed 3 people pulling into Payson to the rodeo, and then we jumped out and hauled us to the arena, and the cops chased us all the way to the arena.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they let you rope?
Yeah, hell, we ended up being early because of the mutton busting. We just jumped the fence and never looked back.
Did you do any good? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I got money. Only time last summer, it feels like.
Oh my goodness, Trey.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the horses were all
Then we had time to saddle, and then that night I was flying back to Denver to go to Guyman the next day and fell asleep and missed my flight out of Phoenix to Denver.
So did you have to turn out?
Ended up getting on a later flight, thank goodness. But yeah, it was a hell of a day, hell of a 20-some hours.
Yeah, goodness gracious.
Or 30-some hours.
I hope you get better at that this year. Don't do that.
Surely, yeah. I don't think me and Wade are going to put ourselves in those situations.
No, I know Tyler well enough that for the most part he's very responsible with his rodeoing. Now, he's grown up. All right. Thank you for telling me those stories, Trey. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet, Chelsea. We'll see you.
All right, bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by ManaPro. Champions, colleagues, roommates, and personal trainers. Whatever role they play, they're an important part of our lives. In their quiet way and their not-so-quiet way, they keep us young. On our feet, on the go, they pull us back to nature and push us toward the next adventure. And as much as we count on them, they count on us all the more to nurture their lives with the same commitment, to protecting them, helping them grow and thrive, and treating them as well as they treat us, by giving them a little more of our lives, because no matter what role they play, we're here to make their lives the best they can be. ManaPro, nurturing life for generations. Check them out at manapro.com or on Facebook at ManaPro Horse.
Working 3 events, Trevor Brazile's $7 million rodeo career required more traveling than perhaps any other in the sport's history. That meant a whole lot of chartered flights, and as he'll tell us, a few less than comfortable moments in the air.
What's happening?
I'm doing a podcast on craziest travel stories, rodeo travel stories. Do you have any good rodeo travel stories?
Or are you boring?
You mean like the time when we were headed back to the short round at Fieldington?
Yes.
And we had to emergency land with fire trucks and police cars on the runway at Salt Lake International, and then we got off and ran to the gate because, well, as soon as we knew we weren't going to die, we had Sharon book us a commercial that got us there. A rodeo got there in Pasco just in time to haul us over there and make it for the short round.
Yeah? What year was? Who were you with?
Me and Patrick. I held his hand. He was okay.
What year was that? Was it the year you won it?
You're going to have to be more specific, man.
Oh, my gosh.
She goes, was it the year you won it?
Was it the year you won it on the gray horse, on your tripping horse in the team roping?
I really don't know.
You wouldn't.
But Patrick probably would.
Yeah, he would remember it more specially than you. Was it?
It was actually the year that the film crew actually picked us up at Pasco.
Oh.
And drove us over there when I did that little reality show.
Yeah. Yes, your television show.
So whatever year that was, it's documented, and if they call bullshit on it.
Was it a private jet that you were on? A charter?
It was I want to say it was a King Air. Yeah, it was a charter.
Uh-huh. And what was wrong with it?
They said we were losing oil pressure, and we started watching it, and it was just gradually losing oil pressure. And he's like, we've got, but you know how Patrick can tell a story.
Yes.
I'll just tell you the high spots and the truth, and he does the rest of the stuff. And so he said it's either we have a faulty gauge, which is no big deal, or we're really losing oil pressure, and it's a real big deal. So he says we can turn around and go back 80 miles, or it's 200 miles ahead of us. And we're like, whatever's closest.
Mm-hmm.
So we turn around and go to Salt Lake, and they opened us the runway for it and everything. But we didn't know, because I haven't worked on a lot of airplanes, but the pressure gauge was going down just slow. You know, in most gauges, they'll bounce around or something if they're not working correctly. Mm-hmm. And after we roped, we found out a day later that there was a crack in the oil pan, and it was losing pressure. It was a legit good decision to go back 70 miles instead of 200 ahead of us.
I'm so glad you lived. I'm so glad you lived through that.
I joke about it now. It was stuff got real up there.
Yeah, I bet it did. I bet it did. And you don't remember, were you just team roping? Or did you have to, do multiple events after almost dying?
I'm sure multiple.
I'm sure, too. I'm sure. Oh, man.
Aren't you glad I lived to be obnoxious?
I'm so glad you lived. I'm so grateful.
No, I mean, it was, I called Shadow and said, pray. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I don't know, get Patrick's side of it.
I will. I'll call him. He's probably...
Because usually when we're in those, we've been in really bad thunderstorms where they try to shoot the gap. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, my defense mechanism is go to sleep, I think. And so it gets so bad that he's back there by himself basically because I'm sleeping, that he has to wake me up and says, "This is bad." I'm like, well, shut up and let me sleep then.
I can't wait to call and ask him his side of it.
Tell him, write a note and say to ask him about to shoot the gap.
Okay.
plane, because that's what the pilot said. He thinks he can shoot the gap between these two big storms. You'll get a kick out of that one.
Okay. I will. I'll call him.
But those are probably the two hairiest ones we were on.
Mhm.
And I definitely didn't sleep through the Salt Lake one because it was midday. I just wasn't tired enough.
Oh, that's awesome. I am so glad you lived to tell the tale.
Yep.
All right.
And then I've been in one with Fred, Cody, Roy. I don't even remember. Maybe Mike Smith. We were going from Colorado Springs to Sykeston.
Mhm.
And the pilot said, "This is bad." And about 3 minutes after that, from the front of the fuselage to the back, it was just a haze. And we gradually started scooting down in our seats because the smoke just kept going further and further down. It was an electrical fire. And he had to shut off all his instruments over just nothing but trees and we had to fly another 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It was dark. It wasn't a good one either.
Who was the most scared? Fred, Cody, Roy, you? Who was the manliest in that situation?
I don't know. I'm telling the story, so probably me. No. I really don't know. Everybody can bullshit you. There's no manly men up there at that point.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of gets quiet. You know, jokes may start, but they fade pretty fast when you start going that far.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will let you go back to ordering your Mexican food now.
Well, I mean, you only order once. We are in Wickenburg. We'll rope a minute and then we'll come back and order some more. But.
Awesome.
All
right. Talk to you later.
Yeah, he'll have a colorful, a little more fabricated version, but it'll make for good writing.
Perfect. I'll tap him for that. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. So, of course, at Trevor's suggestion, I got Patrick's side of the stories, too.
Well, it was just Trevor and I and a pilot that we had hired, and he was flying it was a nice plane. It was a Pilatus, and if you don't know a lot about those, it's a single-engine prop plane, but it's a really nice, super cool plane. So we flew to, trying to think. We were trying to go that week to Lawton, Lovington, and Sykeston. And we had left, I believe it was maybe Hermiston, Oregon, went to Lawton, and then we drove to Sykeston, and we had to fly back to Lovington. And we roped at Sykeston that night, and the storm started rolling in, and it was really, really bad. Hot pink on the radar, top bad. So we go to the airport, and we're sitting there, and at this time, neither one of us really, it's amazing how, as you have children and you get older, you start questioning some of the things you do and the payoff that you get for it. When you're younger, you just don't even think about things like that. You just know you need to get on a plane because you're up at the next one. And so at this time, we were still in that stage where it didn't really matter. We just got on the plane, and we go to the airport, real small airport there. Pilot says, well, we can't leave. The storms are too bad. So we sit in the lobby there, and it's just, like I said, it's just us three. Well, he comes running in there. He's in there watching TV. He comes running in. He goes, hey, let's go. We're going to shoot the gap. There's a gap in the storm. So we're like, sweet. Let's go. So we get in. We take off. Sit up front with the pilot because I've always enjoyed it. I just love flying. I love learning. And Trevor does what Trevor does best. Gets in the back, lays his seat back, and goes to sleep. So we take off, and we get to flying. And for those of you that have ever been in the cockpit of a plane, there's a big screen up there that has the radar on it. and we're between two red cells. Like there's a red cell storm on each side of us, and we are shooting the gap, as he said. Note to self, if you ever hear a pilot say, let's shoot the gap, just say, man, I'm going to turn this one out and wait and look for another day. So we get to going, and I have a headset on, and this guy is like, yeah, we're good. This thing's 18 miles wide. And they're literally, the tower is arguing with him, saying, I don't know where you're seeing that. It's 2 miles wide, and you're not going to make it through there. Well, it's clear. It's lightning all around us, but it's clear where we are. And all of a sudden, it's not clear. Stars disappear. It starts raining really, really hard. Even on the radar, it's not quite caught up to with what the storm is exactly doing. And when I tell you it starts to get rough, it gets rough really, really quick. So we're bouncing around there for a minute, and then it goes from being fairly rough to extremely rough, like rough enough that Trevor woke up. And that's pretty serious. So I jump in the back with him for a minute, and we literally pray. And then I get back up there with this guy like I can do anything. But this guy's an older guy. He's overweight. He's breathing really hard. He's sweating. And I'm thinking, well, at least if something does happen, he has a heart attack, whatever, I do feel like our best shot is me rather than Trevor, who has slept through every flight of his life. So it starts getting so rough, and it bounces, and this guy had a Dr. Pepper over on the side, and it just hits the ceiling, spews everywhere. We start bouncing around, and he said, man, we've got to climb. We've got to get higher. And I'm like, we need to go down. I don't want to get higher. I want to go down. He's like, we can't go down. He said, if we go down, it'll just tear our plane to pieces.
Oh, my God.
And I said, okay, well, let's go up. So we start climbing, and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. And as a matter of fact, at this time, our windshield instantly ices over, turns to solid white ice. And for those of you that don't know a lot about flying, that is a really bad thing. When you get ice, bad things happen. So we keep climbing, and then all these alarms start going off, and it starts getting really hard to breathe because we're now climbing too high for this model of an airplane. It can't keep the pressurization right. So I've got an overweight, sweating guy sitting next to me, semi-panicked. Trevor's laying in the back with his covers over his head, and I'm just doing everything I can do on the Pilates manual to figure out how I'm going to land this thing when this guy passes out.
Oh, my God.
If I'm not passed out. And it got bad. I mean, the story doesn't do it justice, but it was so extremely rough. The pilot was scared to death. The people in the tower were telling us, what are you doing? You do not do this. And then we fly through it for 40 minutes. And I don't know how this thing stayed together. I mean, it literally felt like it was turning flips at times, iced over. And I'll never forget when we cleared out of it, and you could barely see through the windshield and could see stars again. And it was just like the most relief you could imagine, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where we started talking to this guy, and we found out that he actually had been through a divorce. Kids were grown up and gone, and he lived in a camper behind the airport. So we're flying with a guy that lives in a van down by the river and had nothing to live for and risked our lives this entire time. So that was the shoot the gap story. And I've talked to several other pilots since then, and they're like, man, that guy, I don't know what happened to him, but they said they guarantee he lost his license. They said, you just don't do that. You don't shoot a gap. And that's why they do it.
Were you guys winning at the time? Like, were you on a roll, or were you doing this for like in the middle of a slump?
No, it was going good, actually. I think we did really good at maybe even won the rodeo at Sykeston, and I think that's what adds fuel to the fire. You're like, hey, man, let's get to the next one. But it was definitely one of the most nerve-wracking, fearful experiences of my life. I mean, I've been in some, rough flights, bad flights. I mean, anybody that's rodeoed very long say that. This was a different level. It was something that I'd never experienced, that that you read about on the news when people got in the weather that they shouldn't have. Bad things happen. So thank the Lord. We made it through, learned a lesson. Both of us from that day forward started looking at weather a little different, flights a little different, single engines versus twin engines. I mean, there's just times that you just want to make sure you're doing the right thing, making the right choices, and not taking risks that you need to take, because once we were in that position, they could have had all of them. We didn't care. They could, I mean, you can have the rest of the steers. We'll stay home, retire, whatever we need to do. Just get us on the ground.
Was that scarier than the Salt Lake trip?
Yes, it was scarier to me because the Salt Lake trip, we just had problems with the engines, and yes, we were over the Rocky Mountains. It was a terrible time. We were with a pilot that was 21 years old.
Oh.
And which I'm fine. I mean, in the Air Force, you know, those guys are young. They're the best pilots in the world. I get it. If you know your stuff, you know it. But he was extremely nervous. I was also up front with him. The oil pressure gauges dropped into the red on both engines, and it just happened all of a sudden. And he said, "Man, I don't know what we need to do. We can continue to go forward." And I don't remember what the closest airport was, but it was about 100 miles or 70 miles further, or we can turn around and go back to Salt Lake. And I said, turn around. We got to get back to Salt Lake. Earlier on the ground, the better. And same thing, that was more of just the nerves. His hands were shaking, looking through the manual, trying to talk to him. We actually, when we got to the Salt Lake City Airport, the major Salt Lake City Airport, they had a fire truck out there. They had all the planes from the, commercial planes were held up to get us on the ground. So it was a serious situation. But being rodeo guys, once we started getting close and could see it, we were on the phone with Sharon and the travel agent that helps all the rodeo guys, and she got us a flight out of Salt Lake, and we still made it to Pendleton to run the short route steer. So,
well, see, I asked your partner, your former partner, if he remembers, was that the year you guys won Pendleton? And he said, you're going to have to be more specific than that. He was very proud of himself.
We didn't win it that year. We won the short round, and I think we won third or fourth in the average. So we did do good, but we didn't win it that year, no.
Gotcha. So didn't
again, the stories won't do it justice, because until somebody experiences that for themselves and you really believe, this is what I've read about, this is what I've seen on the news, we're in this situation, there's nothing you can do. We're over the Rocky Mountains, we can't land. Oil pressure gauges are dropping. Man, your faith kicks in at that point. You start praying, and the same exact scenario. I jumped out of there, went back there. Trevor and I both prayed, and it wasn't as scary to me. It was obviously you're nervous, but the difference of that and the other one, you're getting thrown all over the place. You can't see. You're in a bad storm. This one, it was daylight. It was nice out. We just were having major engine problems. So. Landed the plane, and it did end up being, he was saying, let's hope it's, it could just be the gauge, something could be wrong with that, but it wasn't. It was some engine problems and losing oil pressure. So, again, thank the Lord. Those aren't the kind of stories that are fun to live through, to be able to tell, but at least I'm here to tell them.
Well, thank you for providing the details to the story, since Trevor was busy ordering Mexican food when I called him and asked him about them. When people listen to this podcast, they'll hear what kind of tortillas he prefers, flour or corn, in the background.
That sounds about right. If you catch him at lunchtime between his naps, you can usually get at least what kind of food he's ordering.
Yeah,
he's about the same way as he was on the plane. Just pretty worthless. Just pull the covers over my head and see when we get there, if we get there.
Yep. He was in Arizona living the good life before the horse sale, so he told me he was unemployed, so that sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, perfect.
Thanks, Patrick.
So
I appreciate it.
Be safe.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Last, but certainly not least, is Cesar de la Cruz's Molalla, Oregon story that shows what cowboy camaraderie is really all about, in a dangerous, ill-advised way. I'm working on a podcast right now on, rodeo photo finishes and crazy travel stories. And I was on the phone with Moats. We were just kind of BSing, and he was like, Cesar has the best photo finish story ever. You've got to call Cesar and talk to him about whatever it was that happened, maybe at like Malala with Cade Swore sitting on your heel horse. Can you?
Yeah. That was a crazy deal. That was a crazy time. Okay. The story was I flew into Malala and I got a rental car and this is such a crazy story. And so I had a hotel room. I'm ready to go. So my buddy Ty Murphy is there doing, was it Rodeo Girls? What
Rodeo
was that
Girls.
TV show?
Yeah, I hear it. Mm-hmm.
And so he was there they were doing a filming or something. And it wasn't too far. Like, we're in the same town. We're in the same hotel. It was awesome. And so went down to eat breakfast. Went to the rodeo grounds. Look at when the slack time was. We knew the slack was at 8 o'clock, but we didn't know the slack order. So I went over there, the fairgrounds from the hotel to the Malala rodeo grounds was about 30 minutes. And so I drove over there with Ty. We checked it out. There was a ton of barrel racers, a ton of bulldoggers, a ton of calf ropers. So I thought, shoot, I'm going to go back to the room and kind of hang out until they kind of kick me out of the room, and then I'll go to the rodeo. And Begay had my horse. Begay drove over there. I believe Begay drove over there. He had a helper, and I don't know how I got out of it, but I ended up flying. So I go back to the hotel room. Ty says, "Hey, can I borrow your car for just a little bit? I'm going to drive up the road. We got to do this thing, and if that's all right, I'll be gone for like 20, 30 minutes." I said, "Okay, yeah, we got time." So I'm in my hotel room. They call me up at the front desk, say you need to get out of your room. So I was like, okay. And I figured the start time where they're going to start team roping about 12:30, 1 o'clock. And this was about 11 o'clock, fixing to be about 11:30 when they were kicking me out of my room. And so I called Ty. I says, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to head over there to the rodeo." The gay helper already got my horse saddled up. You know, I had my ropes with me. Mm-hmm. And so, he says, "Okay, I'm headed your way." So on the way over there, he gets pulled over by he was going fast, trying to get to, and he gets pulled over. And so the cop holds him there for a while. The cop is confused, like, it's my rental car, like, it's the process now. And so now I'm starting to get scared. Now I'm starting to freak out a little bit. And so, the damnedest thing is I was there early. I was there, before the slack was even going to start. I was that guy. I don't realize how I got there. It was so late. So Ty, he's kind of keeping me updated. The cop is keeping me here. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to get there. And so no big deal. And so I'm thinking, he keeps telling me he's fixing to let me go. He's fixing to let me go. And so now we're getting toward about 12 o'clock. And he's still not there. I'm kind of freaking out. And then finally he said that the cop let him go. And I'm not kidding. They're going to start team roping about 1 o'clock. I'm talking to Begay. I'm talking to Turtle. I'm talking, we're buddies with Turtle Pal too. Mm-hmm. And Turtle up earlier, how we got up in Malala, we traded into it. So he was up earlier in the slack. Me and Begay are very last team out in the slack in the team roping. Mm-hmm. And so, everybody kind of hears about this, so everybody's kind of taking their time now, because they know I'm going to be late. I'm not going to really I'm going to be just barely pulling in if they're in the team roping. And so it's getting to be about 12. It's after 12:30, a little after 12:30. Like I said, it's about 30 minutes from the hotel to the fairground. Mm-hmm. And it was about 12:45. I take all I have my rope bag. I have a backpack full of clothes and stuff. And I meet Ty right as he pulls off of the interstate, because the hotel is right off of the interstate. Mm-hmm. I have Ty meet me right off the interstate, and I jump in the car as he gets to the stoplight, and we get back on the interstate and go. Like, I'm freaking out now. Like, it's getting to be like, and I'm telling Ty the whole time, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you're going to get me turned out of the rodeo, and I was already early. And like Ty's like, I'm sorry, man. It wasn't my fault. I was supposed to be there an hour ago. I'm sorry. And so I said, whatever you do, get us to the rodeo. I don't care. Like, get me there in time. I don't care how fast you got to go. He said, I know a back route. I said, okay, whatever you got to do, just get us there. This Ty is zigzagging through these back roads, and I believe Ty Murphy is one of the best. He could have been a NASCAR driver. Like, I ain't kidding. He's going fast. We're going through this, and then we're getting into the town of Malala. Now it's 1 o'clock. Like, I figured the team rope was gonna start about 1 o'clock. They've already been starting team rope. But every team roper is taking their time, and there's nothing really going on after the team rope is like it's the last event. So these guys are like, the judge is like, come on, guys, what do you got going on? Like, and so Turtle, he rides his horse up like 5 or 6 times. The judge walks up to Turtle and says, hey, dude, you gotta nod your head. Like, what are you doing? You spend like 5 minutes in the box. What are you doing here? Like, his horse is standing still and everything. His horse hits the corner. Turtle tells me all about it. He said his horse hits the corner. He's standing square, and he walks him all the way to the front of the line, swings his rope again, and like Turtle's helping out a lot. Every team roper's helping me out. And like I said, Ty is a NASCAR driver. Like, he could have been a NASCAR driver. So we get to the town. There's like 10 cars at this stop sign. Yeah, he gets to the turning lane, and then he shoots the gap and goes straight through the stop sign right there. And he was kind of honking his horn, and people were kind of looking at us, flipping us off, mad at us. And so we're getting to the stretch to where the fairgrounds are at. But Gay says they're 2 teams away, and I'm still not there at the fairgrounds yet. And so Ty is going so fast, and he goes up over the hill, and if you've ever been to Malala, like, it's at the bottom of a hill. It's kind of to pull into the place, you kind of go up a little hill, and then you start going down all the way into the fairgrounds there. Mm-hmm. And so as we're coming up over the hill, we're kind of going pretty fast. Well, there's a rodeo security guard there, and
of course,
and he's a gate guy. You know what I mean? Like, so he's kind of halfway got the gate closed, and I told Ty to get us there, and so he as we're getting, like, he's not wanting, like, he's got the gate kind of halfway closed, and he's waving at us, and Ty's honking the horn, and he's waving at him too. And like, I've got my arm out the window. I was like, we gotta go. And he swings the gate open last minute to get us into the fairgrounds. And as we're coming down off the hill, now we're getting to some dirt roads, okay? Mm-hmm. And as we're getting down to the bottom of the hill, Ty starts locking it up, trying to get the brakes, and we're fishtailing and going back and forth, and all of a sudden he pulls the emergency brake, and he slides right into the back end of the arena. But Gay's in the box. Cade Swartz on my horse. He has a rope. He has Begay's head rope. Like, he's not. He told Begay, no, I don't want a rope. He told Begay, like, I don't want a rope, man. I don't want a rope. I'm just doing this for you guys. Like, you guys told me to get on the horse. Now I'm here. Now you got me in the box. He's like, I don't want a rope. And so I pull in just in the nick of time. There's dust kind of flying right behind me. I got my rope in my hand. I got my glove on my hand. Like, I'm ready to go. As soon as he slides the car into the back end of the box there, kind of back into the arena where the rope and shits are at, mm-hmm. I jump out. So, like, all of a sudden, everybody's looking. They hear the car honking its horn, and they see me slide in. And I got, like, I wish we'd had it on video. It'd have been really cool because, like, there was nothing but dust behind me, and I jump out as the car's still kind of sliding, and I close the door, and I'm running, and Cade rides to the front of the box, and he gets off my horse. I get on the horse, swing my rope as we're going to the box. Everybody's kind of laughing. The judges are pissed by this time. Like they're not happy with me at all. And Begay, I don't know what it is. Begay, he was laughing, and every time you can get Begay kind of like a happy-go-lucky mood, at the rodeos, he would rope really well.
Yep.
And so, like, he comes across the line, and the steer's pretty tricky off to the right, and he hangs it on this thing. I get around him, I heel him, we place it. I think we won second in the round over there at Malala. Like, it was pretty awesome. But, like, very, very, as close to a photo finish as you can get. And like I said, every team roper, I believe we were 20th out. We're last team out of the slack. But every team roper was jacking around in the box or taking a long time. Moat said that he rode out of the box, and I think he was riding one of his. I think he was riding Starbucks as the heel horse of the year. Like, there's nothing wrong with Starbucks, right? Like, Moat, I think, rode him into the box and then rode him out of the box and made like a big circle and then rode him back in the box again. Like Turtle, like I said, Turtle would ride to the front of the line, back up to the front of the line. And then, like, his horse would be standing perfect. And then he'd swing his rope again and then ride to the front. Like everybody really helped me out, which I'm really thankful. I got good friends at rodeos. And it made for a really, really good story. But as close to a photo finish as you can get was me at Malala that year. And like I said, the funny thing is, I was there. Like, I was there early. I got up early. I was kind of, it was like no big deal. And then so I thought, I'm gonna kind of go back to the room and kind of relax a little bit, and the next thing I know, I got a phone call from the front office. Time to get, and I looked at okay, it's time to go to the rodeo, no big deal, and it just ended up being just like it was a real cluster.
Was that one of the nail in the coffins in you and Derek's partnership? Was that like toward the end of your partnership, or was that smack in the middle?
No, I believe that was when we went in leading the world that year. I believe. I think it was maybe 2011. Like, there was we were doing really good. Like,
mm-hmm.
It was he kind of laughed. He was a little bit mad, but then at the end he kind of laughed. But yeah, Gay, he always roped really, really good. Like, when he's in a happy-go-lucky type mood and he's pretty happy about stuff, and like he was like kind of laughing at me because like when I pulled in, it was kind of a wreck. And so the security guy at the top of the hill there, he met me down there at the bottom of the arena after I got done roping. So after I got done roping, I was trying to hide out a little bit. I didn't want to make anybody too mad, but them guys, the security guy was looking for me, and it was said I had to have a talking to him. The judges told me that I had to have a talking to him, or else there was going to be some repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of chewed my butt, and he said I put his life in danger. And I told him I'm very sorry about that. Like, I apologized to him. I told him just trying to get to the rodeo, and I told my buddy get me to no matter what, and so I was to blame. So, but everything was cool, and yeah, that was about as close to a photo finish as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty wild time. It's funny you bring up that because I was every now and again I'll reminisce about old rodeo stories and start laughing and get a kick out of stuff,
Yeah.
But that one was one of my it's like, geez, I was there. Like, I flew in the night before. Like, I was already there. Like, I just don't understand how I was there a day early and ended up being late. That's just the weird thing about it.
Yeah. I know. That's what they told me. That was you had one of the best photo finishes for sure. I've talked to quite a few guys with their funny stories, though. It's been a fun week recording these.
The coolest thing about it, like, I wish that it was like it was in a movie, kind of like it was almost because like when he pulled off the hill, like we were just fishtailing, and we're honking the horn and everything, and we're trying to make kind of a scene, so people would kind of like, we're trying to buy as much time as we could. And so, but as time was going down the deal, he started fishtailing as he was hitting the brakes, and like he wasn't going, like he wasn't stopping, because they like I mentioned, like Malala rodeo grounds at the bottom of a hill, and so we were coming in so fast, so hot, that when we got down to the bottom of the hill there, like getting toward the bottom of the hill, we were going. He wasn't getting stopped, so he pressed the emergency brake, and then that made us kind of going in sideways. But like we were starting to slow down enough, and we started to hit a little bit more. It was starting to get more traction down at the bottom of the hill, where when we slid in, and I was kind of had my door open, I just kind of stepped off like a calf roper, you know, like the car kind of turned, I stepped off, and I had my rope in my hand. I kind of was running, like I hit a run, and Ty stayed in the car, kind of finished driving the car, but like and there was a bunch of dust behind me, and I was like running, and I was staying ahead of the dust, and then like everybody was laughing at me, and like it was kind of like, where the judges, where the hell were you? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, and so like I know more than like. Cade was so happy. He's like, here's your horse. Like he's like, you're such an idiot, kind of a deal. And so I jumped on my horse, and like that the guy, he spun the wheels off the steer. We ended up placing the day money. So it was kind of a close call.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure.
I love it though. That's awesome.
I've had some close ones, you know, and I've actually, you know, been so close where your steer's running down the arena. Mm-hmm. But that one was about as close as you can get it to the millisecond. We showed up just in time. Mm-hmm. Just in time.
Absolutely.
So, quite the story. That kind of made me laugh this morning.
Thank you so much for story time this morning, Cesar.
You bet.
All right. Well, I'll call you later this week. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for listening today. Our episode was brought to you by ManaPro. Check them out at manapro.com or on Facebook at ManaPro Horse.